Hello everyone, Jason here back with another video. Today I'm going to talk briefly a little bit about the differences between religion and spirituality, and how or why I left organized Christianity, organized religion, to follow a spiritual path more, I guess, in line with the teachings of Jesus rather than the religion built up around his name, because there is a vast difference between those two. But instead of focusing on those differences, I'm just going to focus mainly on the differences in general between religion and spirituality. You could also say organized religion on the one hand and unorganized or mysticism on the other side. Or you could even say establishment religion and true religion. False, true, another way to put it, but obviously people are going to argue over what's false religion. Whereas true religion, it's really at the roots of every religion. It's love, peace, forgiveness, and all the organized religions, the establishment religions, are based on fear, and really feeding the establishment, feeding the systems of the world that most of the prophets that inspire the religions actually spoke out against. So that is really at the core the main difference between religion and spirituality. Is religion is built on fear, fear of burning in hell, really, for most of the Western religion anyway, versus spirituality is really based upon how to better yourself. Organized religion on the one hand, we have you gotta look outside yourself to find salvation from this hell, from an angry deity is how it's painted. They'll say that God's not angry, but then they paint him as a God full of wrath that you need to be saved from, because he's the one that's going to throw you in hell if you don't do as they say. So you got to go outside of yourself to be saved. Got to go through the church or through certain actions. Usually it's creeds, dogmas. You got to follow what they say. Whereas spirituality or mysticism, on the other hand, it's all about going inside yourself to find a connection with God, and not so much to be saved from God, but maybe to be saved from yourself, or to be saved from your ego, or to be saved from your own personal hell, or saved from the ways of the world. But it's not to be saved from the very God that is supposed to save you. He saves you from something outside of himself, which really at the heart of it is fear. You got to be saved from your fear. You got to learn how to overcome your fear. Whereas the religions, they keep you in fear to control you, because that's what fear does. And just like Yoda says in Star Wars, fear is the path to the dark side. And that's very true in real life, as much as it is in that movie. Fear is the path to the dark side, because really, if you break down the whole everything, you've got on one side love, on one side fear. And if you want to split the world into light and darkness, then love is light and fear is darkness. It is the path to the dark side. It leads to anger, which leads to hatred, and it leads to a great amount of suffering in the world, along with ignorance, which the organized religions also like to keep their little flocks ignorant of the knowledge that is outside of the religion. So at the heart of all religion, you've got teachings that say you should be united, humanity should be one, to love your neighbor as yourself, as it says in both Judaism and Christianity, and also similar teachings found in Islam, also Buddhism and Hinduism. Pretty much all religions at their root have that truth, to love your neighbor as yourself, to love mankind, to do unto others as you would have them do to you, and to not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. Basically, the non-aggression principle taken, not just don't aggress against people, but to actually help them when they're in need. So this is at the root of all religion, and yet within all these same religions, at least a good chunk of the leaders within them pit the religion one against the other. I, for one, personally grew up in Christianity, so that's where most of my firsthand knowledge comes from, and that's the religion I eventually left. But basically within Christianity, they tell you, if you don't do what we're going to tell you to do, then basically if you don't follow our rules, you're going to burn in hell. And that just didn't jive with me. So that's why I eventually left Christianity. But it's similar with Judaism. You're going to be destroyed, die, maybe not burn in hell. Islam also, same thing. You're going to be saved from this angry God. So, yeah, that's basically the main differences between, I guess, what I would call religion and spirituality, and also why I left. So, interestingly, within all religion, like I was talking about before, they all have these similar tenets that could unite them, and yet they divide. So in Christianity, they also tell you, when they say, if you don't do as we say, you're going to burn in hell, they also say you have to be a member of our religion. A Muslim cannot be saved. Even in Protestantism that I was in, they would oftentimes have arguments over whether a Catholic could be saved, even though they both fall under the same technical Christian religion, especially from those looking in from the outside. But within, they're very different, small differences compared to the differences between that organized religion and, spirituality or atheism. Either one, huge differences. But from within, they're very different to each other. Small, tiny differences, but to them, the religious folk, it's huge differences. So, so basically they would say, if you're not a Catholic, you probably can't be saved. Or they might say, it's about belief in Jesus. So it's possible for a Catholic to be saved, but he or she would have to go against what the actual Catholic teaches, that you have to go through the Pope. So if they disavow the official teachings of Catholicism, they might still be Catholic in name, then yes, they could be saved. But Muslims, nope, can't be saved. Hindus, nope, can't be saved. Buddhists, nope, can't be saved. It's very all-inclusive. It's like we have this monopoly on truth and this monopoly on who God is. It's not an all-powerful God that is really the God of all religions. It's a God of just your religion, and everyone else has to convert or die, convert or burn, convert or whatever the case might be. The punishments differ slightly from religion to religion. But so even though within each religion you have unifying teachings, and they all teach you these things to you gotta love mankind, not based on what religion they are, but to just extend love, and to do this because God is loving. And yet at the same time, they teach you that if you don't convert to their religion, that God's going to punish you. The same God that loves everyone equally, and that's why you have to love everyone equally. So it's this very double standard, lots of hypocrisy, and so there's the fear, there's division. Those, I guess, are the two main things that I would call the problems with organized religion. And one of the biggest difference that I already explained was the one teaches you to go outside to the church, whereas spirituality teaches you to go inside to find God. You become one with God. Religion, you worship God. Spirituality, you become one with God, or you become God, in a sense. When you become one with God. Jesus said, I and my Father are one. The Jews thought that he was making himself equal with God, even though on many occasions he also said that my Father is greater than I. So He distinguished between humanity and the divine, even though he claimed to have become one with and found unity with that. And that's what mystics and even Gnostics, whatever they might be called, it's really what those on the more spiritual path teach. They teach you that you don't need to find a leader outside of you. You need to just go within and commune with directly with the divine. And so obviously that's a huge difference. So, with Christianity, you've got the whole blood sacrifice thing where this angry deity that they call the loving Father is demands a sacrifice, and Jesus came to pay this debt, and all this came to pay a debt that you could never pay, and they threaten you obviously with hell if you don't believe in this sacrifice, and it just doesn't make any sense. And so I had lots of questions growing up, and honestly none of them were answered to my satisfaction. So a little bit after I graduated high school and left home, I also abandoned Christianity. And so why is any of this really important? Well, I think it's greatly important because I think there's a lot of people out there that are seeking spiritual truth, but all they see is the organized face of religion. They don't realize there's another side. Like, they don't realize that even within Christianity, there's been many people who would actually call themselves Christians, but they were Christian mystics. Like, from the beginning, it was that way. Same with Islam. You've got the organized Islam, and then you've got the Sufis that are the more mystics, the more spiritual ones. They're often vegetarian, not always, but non-violent, unlike how Islam eventually spread. Just like Christianity, it actually started out peaceful when it was not organized in the first 300 years of Christianity, from the time Jesus lived and died until the time when Constantine basically legalized it, and there were a bunch of councils, and it became the Roman Empire, took over. And at that point, it turned from a religion of peace that was really not even a religion at that point. It was a bunch of spiritual people that were united by their belief in Jesus and his teachings of nonviolence. And at that time, it began to spread by war. And so that's another thing that really most organized religions, not all, but definitely all of the Western three main religions, organized religions, they're all built on warfare and violence. That's how they spread. Same with Judaism. It's right in the Bible. It says that's how Judaism spread. That's how the original nation of Israel was founded. The Israelites marched around following Joshua around the city that they took, that God promised them, supposedly, blew their trumpets until the walls fell down, and then they all rushed in there with their swords and their spears, and they slew every single man, woman, and child and animal. And that's what it says. That's how Judaism was founded. Not really much different than Islam and Christianity. They're all spread by violence while they at the same time teach peace. And so, whereas spirituality, it just teaches nonviolence straight up, and it actually actions are in line with with what they teach. There's not that hypocrisy there because there's no establishment to protect. Whereas with the church, they have an establishment to protect. To protect this establishment, they need to instill the fear. So those, I guess, really are the main differences between spirituality and religion, and a little bit of why I left organized religion. I've been on a spiritual path now, unconventional from a religious viewpoint, from how I grew up. Not really unconventional compared to many, but I've been on this path a while now, and learned a lot, done a lot of research. Let me just read this quick before I finish this video up. It's funny how in their own scriptures, they'll have these things that they say this is the word of God. Right here in the book of James, it says, "Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world." Nothing about creeds, no dogma. Help people, help the weak. It's clearly saying to help the weak, the orphans and the widows. And that's, I think, James 1:27. It's in the first book of James. But the religion of James, who is the brother of Jesus, and the religion of Jesus, which really wasn't a religion, it was a way of life, a way of nonviolence, a way of going within yourself to find the truth, a way of extending love to everyone. That religion was lost. The Romans killed, the Romans killed Jesus, and because the high priest of the Jews were also behind it, and then the same high priest, might have been a different high priest, but the high priest also was behind the killing of his brother after his death, before the temple was eventually destroyed by Rome. And so the religious leaders killed both of those people, and their religion has been lost. But it says right there in the Bible, in their own Bible, the word of God, that's what they call it. And it says, this is what pure religion is. No dogma mentioned, just caring for one and then keeping yourself clean from the ways of the world. So basically the ways of the world, the banking systems, the corporations, all the poison in the food, gathering riches and all that, it's clear in Jesus' teachings. It matches with what Buddha taught. It matches with a lot of the Hindu teachings, that it's really all that there's this root that's kind of connected between all religions, but then this organized establishment gets built up around it, and then suddenly it's a whole different thing from what the people who founded the religion or the prophets who it's built up around actually taught. And so you have it right there in the Bible, Holy Bible. That's what pure religion is. It's helping those who are weak. It's helping those who are in need. It's love your neighbor as yourself. That's in there too. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. That's in the New Testament. Jesus said it. It's in the Old Testament, so it's in the Hebrew Torah. It's part of Judaism. It's found within the Quran. It's part of Islam, and yet they add so much beyond this, and we're just supposed to love each other. That's, at the base of what we're supposed to do. It's so simple, and they don't listen to their own book. They'll pull many quotes from other places to try to put you in fear, but all these doctrines and dogmas and creeds, it's beyond pure religion. It's these creeds of I believe this and that, and they believe something wrong, so they're going to burn in hell. They're not saved because they don't believe the right things. That's what it's all about. In most religion, it's what you believe. And so it says right there, it's not about what you believe. There was not one mention of, is he a Christian, or is he a Muslim, or does he accept this creed? No, it's what's pure before the true God, according to James, right there in the Bible, the brother of Jesus. That's what it says. To help the widow and the orphan when they're in need. So clearly, to help the weak, pretty much just like John the Baptist said, if you have 2 coats, give one to one who has none. It's that simple. You just care for people. You truly just care for humanity, and the world would get a lot better. That's how you also keep yourself from the ways of the world. The ways of the world is greed and fear. Constructs of fear built on greed. You look around, it's everywhere. It's how the corporations operate. It's how governments operate. It's how pretty much everything in this world, institutions operate. And like this talk, religion, it's how they operate, based on fear, division, and yeah, there's a lot of greed in religion too. That'd be a whole topic for another thing, but let's look at the mega television preachers, and they make their millions and their billions, and a lot of them guilt trip their viewers and their followers by saying, if you give me money, you'll get these blessings, get these miracles. It's all about greed. They want the money, they want the control, and they have to keep you divided, because if they would lose their they would lose their monopoly, or their perceived monopoly on the truth, if it's all about what you do and not about what you believe. Then everyone within each religion could, unite, and you could still have your own religious traditions, but you wouldn't be able to threaten, say, a Muslim who is a caring person and actually is nonviolent. He actually wants peace. You wouldn't be able to say he's going to burn in hell because he don't believe that Jesus is the divine Son of God, blah, 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 or whatever it might be. You don't believe in this one thing. Same with Islam. It's vice versa. There's even this dichotomy in Hinduism a little bit. There's, on the one side, you've got the establishment Hindus that are behind the caste system, where it divides people into levels, and then you've got on the other side, the spiritual side, the yogis that are all about absolute equality, and it's just the nature of power. It corrupts, and it happens with every religion. And really, I think that every religion started out as a spiritual path, and eventually got built into a organized establishment built on fear and division, namely to keep their control over the followers. Because if people knew that they could get in touch with the divine spirit within themselves, they would have no need for their pastor, their priest, or their prophet, whoever the spokesman is, to go through. They wouldn't have to go to Bible school. They wouldn't have to do this, that, and the other. So I will probably have more videos or posts on some of more of the stuff I've learned in the future, but just want to do a quick video on, kind of why or what the major differences are. I didn't so much get into why it's important, but a little bit, maybe next time. Anyway, hope you guys found this video informative. It's getting dark out here, so I'm gonna cut this video short. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover anyway. So hope you guys have a wonderful week, and show you guys the beautiful views, and there's a almost full moon rising. So yeah, don't need to live in fear. If you think there's something wrong with religion from your viewpoint, there probably is. Basically, to sum it up, in my point of view, religion is for people who are scared of going to hell when they die. Spirituality is for people who have already gone through hell and wanted a way out, and spirituality was the way out. That's, to me, I guess, a good way to summarize it. Anyway, have a good one, guys. Peace.